Hello friends, welcome to episode 3 of the FibreBound Knitting Podcast. My name is Alexandra. I live in Adelaide, Australia with my husband, our 2 teenage sons and our lovable dog Shorty. You can find me on Instagram as FibreBound and I am on Ravelry as Alipay. I'll put all the links in the description below to where you can find me online, as well as about any projects that I talk about or any web shops that I mention. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 3. I am so excited to be here again, even though it's taken a little bit of setup today and I've had some technical issues in getting here, but if you're seeing this, I think we're ready to go. So thank you for joining me. And it's unbelievable that after 2 episodes, this is the 3rd one, and I still feel like I'm brand new at this and I'm so rusty every time I start. So, this is predominantly a knitting podcast for anyone who hasn't been here before. Welcome, it's so lovely to have you here. And for those of you who are coming back from seeing episodes 1 or 2, thank you so much for returning. When I think I spoke about it last episode, I really wasn't sure that I had much to offer in the podcasting space, given that there are so many talented podcasters out there and knitters out there. But I am really enjoying the process of recording and talking about my projects and my favourite sort of things to do with yarn. And I really do appreciate that you have decided to spend your precious time with me today. I hope that you are having a lovely day. I also hope that you have a beverage with you that you can enjoy while I talk, and hopefully you've got a knitting project or a crochet project with you as well, whatever it is that you like to do to wind down. I'm drinking tea today in this beautiful mug. My friend Krista sent me this mug a couple of years ago, maybe just over a year ago, and I absolutely love it. It's my favourite mug to drink tea out of, and today I'm drinking an organic licorice and peppermint tea that I'll talk more about later, but this is absolutely delicious. So enjoy. So let's talk about what I'm wearing to start off with. Today I'm wearing my Felix sweater. It was quite chilly this morning, and so I decided to put it on. I might stand up, see if you can see it a little bit better. Sorry about the microphone. It's got beautiful detail here on the sleeve. Just a little bit of lace there. It's a top-down raglan sweater, and it is designed by Amy Christophers. I actually finished this sweater and showed it as a finished object in episode number 2 if you wanted to see some more information about it. Absolutely loved knitting on this project, and I'm so excited to be wearing it for the first time today. It's fitting really beautifully and feels really lovely on this chilly-ish Adelaide day today. It is summer here, which you wouldn't think so. It's rainy and blustery and windy out there, but I guess that's the sort of season we've had this year. The summer has been a little bit stilted. We've had a couple of hot days. Certainly last time I recorded it was extremely hot. But then there are days where I'm quite comfortable in a jumper or a sweater or a cardigan. And even though my husband thinks it's a little funny that I will wear a sweater or a jumper, I get cold very easily. So very handy that I knit. Okay, so let's get on to the knitting content. I only have one finished object for you today. If you joined me for episodes 1 and 2, you would have seen that I was working on the Slipstravaganza shawl, and it is done, my friends. I am so happy that this is finished. So it's a massive, massive shawl. It's rather large to show you on here, but I hope that you can see all of this beautiful squishiness. This shawl was designed by Stephen West of West Knits, and it was part of the 2020 Mystery Knit Along that Stephen hosts every year. I think this was the 11th year that he hosted it. So what that means is he releases a clue a week, and a bunch of people will knit along and basically see this project grow as the weeks progress. And it's quite exciting to see the parts come together and develop this beautiful project. It's very exciting. So I'm really, really happy with this. It's turned out so stunning, and I know I've showed it already, but it totally deserves its limelight. I knit this in Lovebird Lane yarns. She's a local to me dyer. Julianne is very talented. I used her bamboo base. It's a blue face luster bamboo base. It's an 80-20, I believe. I've actually not brought out any of the tags. I use the colour Biscotti for the main colour, so you can see that there. Then we have Flushed and Quarantine 15 as the contrasting colours in this section. And then down here you'll see my contrast colour 2 comes into play, which is the same as this one here. And that is called Intangible. And I am absolutely ecstatic with how this has turned out. Yes, I'm super happy with it, and I can't wait for it to get cold so I can wear it and wrap myself around in it. Having said that, I did put it around my shoulders as soon as it came off the needles, and absolutely loved wearing it that evening. It just felt so lovely on, but I am really looking forward to it getting cold. I did end up making the smaller version, so you'll notice that I've only got 3 stripes on the border here. The full version I think has 6. Now I do really like the depth of this the way that it is. I personally don't need it to be any deeper. I think it's quite large, and to be honest, I was really done with knitting on this and just couldn't wait to finish it. I absolutely love the finished object, so I'm really happy that I did decide to do the smaller version. Otherwise I'd still be knitting on it for the next month or 2 probably. But I am really, really happy with it, as I've said, and yeah, if you have looked at Stephen West's patterns before, I encourage you to try them. He provides you with great support with some of the techniques that he includes in his patterns, with video tutorials that are usually linked within, and they always have a lot of interest in them, so you never get a chance to get bored. There seems to be something new to look forward to as each section progresses, so that's always very fun. This is the 2nd year that I've participated in Stephen's Mystery Knit Along. I did it in 2019 as well, and knit the Starflake shawl that year that I absolutely love too. It is such a squishy garment. I might have to show you on another episode. But yes, so that's my only finished object. It is the Slip Stravaganza. Okay, let's move on to works in progress. So I have a number of works in progress for you today, but they're not large. They're usually quite small. So oh dear, dropped one. So my first and oldest work in progress, I'll just show you what progress I've made since the last episode, is my oldest whip that is active at the moment, and that is my Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore. So let's try to balance this. It's getting quite a bit longer now. Show you the front. So there it is. So this progress keeper here is where last time I podcast, and so this is the progress that I've made. It's not a lot of progress, to be honest, but I am really loving it, and I am on the final section now, so this should be done within the next week or 2, because it is a really enjoyable knit when I pick it up. It's just been once the Slip Stravaganza was finished, it's just been quite busy at work, and I've found found spending half an hour to an hour on weaving in ends an evening quite tiring, so I might have only gotten a row or two done each day. Actually, last night I fell asleep halfway through doing a row, so I better check that everything's okay there. But yes, absolutely loving this project. This is another one that has brought me a lot of joy to knit. There's a lot of interest at each section here as well. And it feels like it's sort of knitting itself, because I don't really feel like I've put that much time into it, given that it's been a little bit spits and spurts. And honestly, I don't think I've got that much left to go. It's definitely grown a lot very quickly. So after today's episode, I'll move this stitch marker up here, but theoretically I hope it'll be done by the next time I record. We shall see. So this is knit out of Explorer Knits and Fibres, and I've talked about this in the previous episode, so I do apologise if this is repeating myself for you. But these are the two colours that I'm knitting or using. They were both sent to me by my friend Krista, and they are by Explorer Knits and Fibres. So this is her Denali sock base. It's an 80-20, I believe. Yep. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. The green is Trastevere, and that's my main colour, and the orangey colour is Roma. They are absolutely beautiful to work with. They've just been knitting so lovely, and I've really enjoyed working on this project and with this yarn, and look forward to getting my hands on more of Ali's yarns in the future, because they're really beautiful. Now I am keeping this in my project bag that my friend Krista made me, and Krista is the Knitting Dentist on Instagram. I encourage you to check out her page, because she's extremely inspiring in her knitting, her crochet, and her bag making. She does a lot of sewing as well, so she's a very talented maker, and she's a very, very good friend of mine. So I'll link her down below for you as well. But I love this bag, absolutely adore this bag. So it's drawstring, and it's just perfect. So that is work in progress number 1. Now, the rest of my works in progress have all been cast on since I saw you last. So I did cast on something unplanned since the last time. I think I talked about wanting to do my February socks, but it got to a day or two after I recorded, and I felt very lost with not having any sock needles. Socks on my needles. So I decided to pull something out of stash and cast on another sock. So this is just a vanilla sock. I'm knitting this on 2.25mm or US 1 needles. They're Chalgu red lace 32-inch cord needles. The yarn is actually something that is discontinued, that I picked up at a craft fair a few years ago when we were on holidays for my birthday. So I think of this as like a birthday skein. So this is Jigsaw 4-ply by Heirloom. I believe it's an Australian yarn, but it's discontinued. It is a 75-25 base, I think. Yes, it is 75% wool, 25% merino. It is the colorway 66, because there's no real names on these, which is a shame, but it's knitting up very pretty. Now, I am marking every 10 rows on this sock just to sort of check my progress, and I'm marking them with light bulb stitch markers, and it's just nice to see how much I get done each day, as well as making sure that I make the second sock to match. Though I do find that stripy socks are so much easier for me to do that, because I can just look at the pattern repeat on the stripes to sort of figure out when I'm up to the heel or when it's time to do the toe. But with these ones, I've actually stopped knitting on them, because I've decided that I don't want to break up the patterning with the heel. but I do want to do a heel flap and gusset on them. So I did order some yarn the other day from Wool Warehouse that I'm waiting to arrive, but that might not be here for a little while. Shipping from the UK has been taking a little while. I think they're based in the UK. But I just ordered a cream, I think, to use as the heel for this. I figure it'll be a similar yarn. I'll talk about that more when it arrives. I can't even remember what brand I got. I'll let you know later. But yes, so I've put these aside. I'm not working on these now since February 1st. So this was about, I don't know, 5 days worth of knitting. But it was great for lunchtime knitting at work. And I feel like I really need just something simple and mindless for those lunch breaks, because work has been quite busy, as it always seems to be. And it's just nice to wind down on my lunch break listening to an audiobook and knitting on a sock. So I felt very lost between the whatever date I recorded last, 25th, 24th of January to the 1st of February. So it's been really nice to be able to cast on a new sock. Now I'm keeping these socks in one of my favourite sock bags. This bag is made by my friend Janet. She's the maker behind Forget It Not Designs. A very talented bag maker here in Adelaide, and absolutely love this little bag. I just keep some light bulb stitch markers on the little flap there, and it's just really lovely. So that is my second work in progress. Okay, work in progress number 3 is something that I planned last time, and this is living in my project bag that I sewed for myself about a year ago, I think. So I love to sew these, but I really feel like I need more space to be able to leave my sewing machine out, and I find that I just run out of time if I have to set everything up. So I'm not getting much sewing done lately, but do enjoy making these when I have the time. It's just a little zip bag. And I am keeping my hand-dyed yarn that I dyed myself in here. So this is the hand-dyed yarn I showed you last time. I had a look at what the actual yarn base is since the last episode. So this was a home dyeing kit that was sent to me by Knit Crate in one of their membership or sock crates last year. Right as COVID hit, they couldn't get a lot of supplies, so they created a crate where we could basically try dyeing our own yarn with Kool-Aid. So I came up with this colorway using the Kool-Aid that was in the box, and then over dyed that with a bit more food colouring. And I know I showed it in a lot of detail last time, but let's just give you a nice close-up of this again, because I am very proud of it. Really happy with how this turned out. And I finally cast something on with it, which is really exciting. So I was in two minds last time about which Joji Locatelli pattern to cast on. I was tossing up between the lightweight Hipster and her Venezia shawl patterns that have been released in recent months, that I'd been sort of eyeing off because they're both one-skein shawl projects. But I ended up casting on the Venezia in the end, so this is where we are at the moment. I have just finished the first detailed section, and I'm up to a lace chart now that I haven't quite started. But I did this all on, I think, Saturday or Sunday last week. So this was a couple of days worth of knitting amongst other things. And really not much knitting time at all, but I felt like it was just so addictive. And I am absolutely loving how this yarn is knitting up. So happy with the colours and the way that the different tones are coming through. The stitch marker I'm using here, this is by Lovebird Lane. I've just popped it here. I think that might have been Saturday's progress and maybe this was Sunday's progress. But I'll move it up here now so I can keep track for the next episode. Haven't really touched it since the weekend because it's been quite busy at work and I'm up to lace, I think, or it's a chart of some sort, and that needs me to concentrate a little bit more. So I haven't touched it for a few days. Now, I think I forgot to actually say what the yarn was after all of that rambling. Sorry about that. So this is Dyer Supplier Merino Nylon Fingering. It's an 80-20 base. And I'm knitting this on 4.5mm or US 7 needles using my ChowGoo interchangeable set. Absolutely love these needles. They are my favourite needles to use for pretty much every project. At the moment I've got it on a pretty short cord or cable, but I think I will change cables soon because it's starting to get pretty full on there. Absolutely loving this project though. I'm so happy with it. And I'm very excited that I'm finally knitting with yarn that I dyed myself. I think last time I talked about really enjoying knitting shawls on US 5 or 3.75mm needles. And I generally have been, but this pattern is written in 4.5mm, and I've been using the suggested needles here, and I'm really happy with the stretch and the squishiness of this fabric. The fabric's just knitting up really, really pretty. So yes, that's been lovely to work on, and I'm looking forward to seeing that grow. I'm very excited to wear it once it's done. Now, project number 4. Project number 4 is my final one for this episode, and I cast on my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks for February. So I would have shown you one of these tags before. This one here is called Somebody Loves You. It's again a 75-25 base, and I chose this colorway for this month specifically because it sounded like a very Valentine's-y colorway. I'll show you the yarn first up. Sorry, the ball's a bit of a mess. And it's a self-striping yarn. I think it's a 4-stripe repeat. And I decided to wind it into 2 50-gram balls. Oops, sorry. I decided to wind it into 2 50-gram balls, and I've cast on both socks. So once I untangle myself, I'll show you those. So haven't really made that much progress, seeing as I started these on Monday and today is now Friday. But we have one sock, and I'm doing these on separate needles. I just find that's more enjoyable for me rather than 2 at a time on one needle, which I have done once before and got a lot of yarn bath happening. So I find this is just a bit safer and a bit more portable as well. So there they are. There's my little cuffs. One cuff is completely done and the other cuff is in progress, but it's happening. I think I've just got a few more rows left of this darker red color before I start on the leg. Now my aim for these ones is just to knit them vanilla again. I really enjoy vanilla socks. They're usually my travel knitting, my lunch break knitting, my I'm too tired but I want to knit on something project, especially if I'm heading to bed and I know I haven't knit anything all day. I'll generally grab a sock and knit on that in bed. Which my husband thinks is funny that I sit there and I basically fall asleep knitting. It's my way to wind down. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. Do you like to knit in bed? Is it just me? Surely not. I'd love to hear about it though. If you're an in-bed knitter, please feel free to comment down below because I want to show my husband that it's not just me doing that. Oh dear. So yes, these are my February socks. Now they are living in my Sandy by the Lakeside bag that I picked up last year. I think I showed this last time for you as well. Absolutely love this bag. I just think Sandy's so talented and has such a great eye for the fabrics she chooses. And I've got all of my stitch markers here on the zip pull ready to go for counting for each sock. And yes, that's the bag I'm keeping them in. when they're not being worked on. However, when I take them to work, I do find I don't want to pop this pretty bag into my handbag and have it all squished up in there. So whichever one I'm working on that day goes in this little bag, because it actually fits quite perfectly. Also fits really well in my handbag, and I'm not too worried about it getting damaged. Now this little bag is by Gibi Rosos. I may have said that wrong. These are bag makers. I think there's 2 people actually that sew these bags from the UK. Well, I have a few of their bags from their Etsy store. I'll link the Etsy store down below. I do find those bags are super affordable and they're really very cute. I've got a couple of their bags. I've got this one and a sweater bag that has UFO in it that I will one day maybe show you guys. And really like their bags. They're very cute. And again, they've got a little ring pull here, so I've got some stitch markers and even an old Christmas progress keeper sitting there. But yes, so I'm keeping those in that bag when I take it to work, just so I don't dirty my Sandy by the Lakeside bag. And the best thing is one fits inside the other. So that is perfect. So that was all of my works in progress for this episode. So 2 socks, a couple of shawls. Yes, that seems to be where my head is at the moment. I am extremely keen to cast on a sweater, but I'm just very undecided about what to cast on. So I'd love to know, what sweater are you working on at the moment? I'm completely drawing a blank. There are so many in my queue and nothing is jumping out at me right now. I did start swatching for a Tegna by Boyland Knitworks the other day, which I'm happy to show you that swatch, but I don't know that I will actually continue with using this yarn for that project. So this is the gorgeous yarn that I picked out. And this yarn is by the lovely ladies of Finch Yarns, another local to me dyer or dyers. They're 2 ladies who live locally to me, and their yarns are absolutely stunning. Actually, the very first hand-dyed yarn I bought, I think, was theirs. And that's when I realised that there was a great community here in Adelaide of knitters and yarn dyers and makers, and that was a very exciting moment for me after watching all these podcasts from America. So this yarn is absolutely stunning, and I started a swatch, but I'm just not sure that this is the yarn I want my Tegna out of. It's maybe a little bit too variegated, although it is an absolutely beautiful yarn. So it's actually looking so gorgeous on this screen here. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think? What would you make out of a variegated yarn like this? I would obviously alternate skeins. Yeah, I'm just undecided at the moment. Maybe I should keep going with the swatch and make it a little bit bigger to make a better judgment on that, or a better decision. That's what I've been thinking of, just because it was really hot when I was thinking of casting on the new sweater, and the Tegna seems quite lightweight. But I'm obviously quite happy to knit winter garments, because before we know it, winter will be here. Certainly before I finish a sweater, winter will be here. So I just need to, I guess, make a decision on what to make. I have so much yarn that I think I'm a bit overwhelmed by all of the choices. Like what's the next project? There's so much to choose from, and there are so many amazing patterns out there that it can get quite overwhelming. So I'd love to know what you're making, or what you're thinking of making. Or do you find it hard to make these decisions, or is that just me? Oh dear. Okay, so let's move on to acquisitions. Now I only really have one acquisition this time again. So I signed up for my friend Hannah's Yarn and Tea Club. Hannah is the dyer behind Rose Hip Island. She is based in Tasmania, and she's extremely talented. She also has a podcast, and I'll link that down below for you. I do really enjoy listening to Hannah speak about her projects. But yes, I signed up for her yarn and tea club because I love yarn and I love tea, and I really wanted to support my friend. So the January colorway came out or arrived this last week or so, and it was inspired by a photo that was in the yarn club information, which was called Victorian Tea Set, and the yarn is stunning. So it came with 100 gram skein plus two 20 gram minis, and these, let's see if I can hold them all three. These are the beautiful colors that she sent. So here we are. There's a vintage tea set. It's an 85% superwash merino and a 15% nylon. There's a mini here that's called chocolate biscuit, and this one is called raspberry jam. So I am really looking forward to using these as a set. But I think they might, I mean, it's a sock base, but I think they might look really beautiful in a shawl perhaps. So I'm really undecided about what I'll make with these at this point in time, but I'm very, very happy with these colours. The colourways are just so pretty. I mean, look at the speckles. It's so lovely. And with the yarn and tea set, Hannah sent through some goodies as well, so I thought I'd show you those. There's this lovely little tin and a lovely progress keeper. So hopefully that'll zoom in or focus in. Okay, so hopefully that shows up, stops moving around. Can you see that okay? Yeah, so it's a really cute little cup and saucer with a little bit of detail on the side there as well. Absolutely gorgeous. And of course the tea. So this month's tea, I signed up I think for the herbal tea set. There was an option of I think green tea, black tea or herbal tea. I can't remember now. But I got the organic licorice and peppermint. And this is by The Art of Tea, which is a Tasmanian tea company. And it is delicious. I am really enjoying this tea, and I'm really happy that it's quite chilly today as well, because I find I don't often drink tea if it's hot, but as soon as the weather cools down, I love tea. Tea's one of my favourites. Second to coffee. Yeah, coffee still comes first, but I do love tea. How about you? Do you drink coffee or tea? Or neither? I can't imagine not drinking either. If I was to give one up, it would definitely... Oh no, I couldn't give any of them up. No. I love a hot beverage. What can I say? So that was a lovely, lovely monthly yarn club to join. So I'm really happy that I did that. Feel free to check out Hannah's web shop. I'm not sure that she still has the yarn club for sale, but she definitely has a beautiful selection of yarns on there. And I'll link that down below for you as well. Okay, so that is all the knitting content I have for you today. I feel like maybe I've been talking for a little while, but maybe this has been a bit quicker than usual. Hard to say. So I guess the final thing to talk about is that I finally started my making journal, or my project journal. I still don't know what I'm calling this thing. So I did get a start on this, and I started off with just outlining some of my whips, some of my unfinished objects, my lingering whips that I've brought into 2021. And then I hope to track my stash and projects, which I haven't actually updated for January yet. I was looking at it this morning, but didn't really get a chance to do that. But these are sort of my favourite pages here. So that's January. So far that is January. And it sort of shows which whips are coming in, what I've cast on, any acquisitions that I make throughout the month, and what finished what projects I finish throughout the month, which is nice to keep track of in a journal. And then I've added some project pages for things that I finish throughout the month. So my first finish, which I would have talked about last time, was my Felix, which is what I'm wearing today. And then you may have seen an Instagram photo, if you follow me on Instagram, of the hat that I finished last month, and just some photos of my niece that I generally wouldn't put up on social media, but quite happy to have them in my book there. And then the Magic Heel socks, and so on and so forth. So I still feel like I need to put a bit more effort into this, but at the same time I don't want to put the pressure on myself to make it hard to update. But the exciting thing is I'm keeping track of the projects up here in the corner. So my Sleep Extravaganza is the most recent FO, as we discussed today, and that is my 4th project for the year that I finished. So I mean, I feel that's pretty good given that today is the 5th of February, that I've finished 4 projects already. I feel like this time last year maybe I'd finished 1, so that's pretty crazy. Most of them were whips brought in from last year, but all of them, bar one, were whips from 2020 that I brought into the new year. So yeah, that's just fun to keep track of that. I haven't started my February page yet. Maybe I'll do that over this weekend. But I'm really happy that I've gotten a start on that. And yes, otherwise, I mean, I update everything on Ravelry. So if you're ever wondering about any of the projects I talk about and I haven't mentioned something about them, it's likely you'll find that information on my Ravelry project pages, and I link them down below in the description bar, so feel free to check out those links. Okay, so that is pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for joining me in my rant today. I really appreciate that you have taken the time to be here, and if you would like to hang around, I will just go over some life stuff, which I don't think there's much to say. But if you're only here for the knitting, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you again in a future episode. And if you would like to hang around, well, I guess I'll just tell you what's been happening life-wise here. So, as I've mentioned a few times throughout the episode, work has been pretty full on. It's always full on, which means that basically I get home from work, dinner is done, and I sit on the couch, and sometimes I'm lucky to get half an hour of knitting in. So last time I saw you, my boys were about to start school for the year, and they started school, and it's been going really well. They've been doing great work so far, and they've really settled into a good routine, which is so good. So proud of them. My youngest goes on camp next week, so that's pretty exciting for him. It's very, very fun to do that in the first year. They get a chance to really get to know their peers, especially given that it's a new school for all of them. And yeah, that's about it for life stuff, I guess. I have been watching WandaVision on Disney Plus with my boys, which has been a lot of fun. So it appears that my card was full, which was decently timed, I guess. I've finished the majority of the content, but there were some things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I've actually grabbed my sock, and I'm just going to knit on my sock while I talk to you, because I can generally knit vanilla socks without having to look down. Having said that, we shall see how this works. It may end up proving too difficult to talk and knit at the same time. So I did want to tell you about what I've been watching, about some books that I've finished, or a book that I've finished and what I'm reading now. Just thought I'd just give you some insight into that. So I think I was talking about having watched, or maybe I got cut off at that point. I've been watching WandaVision with my boys on Disney Plus, and I've been really enjoying that show. So my boys are very much into Marvel and comic books and things like that. So when they told me about WandaVision, I didn't really get it. To me it sounded like one division. Showing my age. So eventually the boys and I watched a couple of the first episodes, and I really, really liked it. So that's something that I'm looking forward to watching with them later today as well. Seeing as it's Friday, the newest episode should be out today. So that's a bit of fun if you've ever enjoyed any of the Marvel movies. Other than that, the main things that I watch are podcasts. So generally speaking, if I'm knitting after work and we're sitting in the living room, the TV is on, and it's usually set to something quite neutral that the whole family can watch, but it's not necessarily something that I would always choose to watch. So I often will have my iPad with my headphones and watch knitting podcasts quite often. And I thought I'd talk to you about some of my favourites today. So I do watch quite a variety of them. And some of my favourites, I think I've mentioned before, I love Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady. Her podcast is one that I really look forward to coming out every week, and I think there's a new episode that just got released that I'm looking forward to watching once I finish recording today. The other one that I really love is Sandy by the Lakeside. Now she's moved more into a vlog format rather than a knitting podcast in recent months, but I'm still really enjoying her content. It's really a joy to listen to her and to be inspired by her. She's not only a great knitter, she's also an amazing cook and a housekeeper and an organizer, and she's just very inspiring in a lot of different ways, which I really enjoy. So if you haven't checked out Sandy, and if you haven't, I would be surprised if you haven't seen Sandy before. I will link her down below for you as well. Some other podcasts that I really enjoy include Knitting Traditions. I found Inga not long after I released my first episode, actually. All of a sudden, all of these recommendations came up for newish knitting podcasts. So Inga started podcasting sometime towards the end of 2020. And she is based in Denmark, I think. Or is it Norway? I'm sorry. I've completely forgotten. She's a doctor, and she's a very talented knitter, and she's coming into the world of design, having released a few of her own patterns since starting her podcast. So she's a real joy to watch. I really do enjoy her podcast. I binge watched all of her episodes, and I finally caught up this week and am up to date with her episodes. So she's really lovely to watch, which I think I've said a few times. Other than that, I've found some brand new to me podcasts as well. So Knit All the Yarns podcast, I think that's what it's called. It's Mia. She posted her first podcast around the same time I posted mine, and it was really fun to see a brand new podcast sort of coming to life as mine was also being released. And Mia's just been really lovely to watch. She is in America and has a large family, lots of kids, and it's just really lovely to hear about what they get up to. She also posts a vlog on the weeks that she's not podcasting, so it's fun to see some of the family dynamic there. I've really enjoyed Mia's podcast. And also, oh goodness, Little Monkeys and Me. So Fernanda from Little Monkeys and Me, I love her name and I can't say it right. I'm sorry, Fernanda, if I said it wrong. She is also a mum in the States who's just started a podcast. She's a homeschooling mum. I believe so is Mia, actually. And they are both amazing knitters, and it's really fun to follow along someone's journey as you're sort of along the same path. So that's been quite fun to find them. And a brand new one to me who has been around for a while, but I I don't know, I must be living under a rock, I hadn't noticed it before, is the Happy Knitting Podcast. Now, Yolanda and her son host the podcast. It's so fun to watch their dynamic in hosting the podcast episodes. Her son is 16, he's the same age as my oldest, and I think I commented on Yolanda's last episode saying, oh, I wish I could get my son on, but I just don't think my 16-year-old would ever indulge me that much. My kids are great supporters of me doing this. They've been really fun since I've been posting these and giving me some tips on editing and things like that, but I can't see them being that keen to be on an episode, but I'll try. I'll give them a try. But I was super blown away when Yolanda mentioned my podcast on hers. So if any of you are here who have not seen the Happy Knitting Podcast, I highly encourage you to check Yolanda out. She's an amazing knitter. She has a beautiful new house. So she's also got a separate channel where she shows some of the house build, and that's sort of where I'm at the moment. So it's we're planning to build our house. So it was fun to do a house tour with her as they were building it, and once they got the keys, sort of can't wait to be in that position myself in the next year or so. So that was very exciting. But I do encourage you to check out all of these podcasts. I'll link everyone down below, and if you go over there and, you know, check them out, say hi from me. I love the idea that we can share each other's creative outlets, and I for one really enjoy watching other people talk about their crafting. So I love hearing about more podcasts and more people that I can watch, because I do sometimes feel like I've run out, but that's not possible because I always tend to go back to past episodes if it's someone I haven't watched from the beginning, so that's always quite fun to do that as well. But yes, so that's pretty much it for today. I will finish off here-ish. So yes, I've got a very busy afternoon today, but a fun busy afternoon. I've got my virtual knitting podcast, which I'll be logging into a Zoom with shortly. Some really good friends that I've met through Instagram join us there, and my friend Jane from the Mindful Making podcast has started that group. So I'll link her down below. You should totally check her out as well. Her podcast is a lot of fun, and she really is very soothing to watch, so I really enjoy her projects, and when she talks about her craft it's a lot of fun for me, and I hope you'll enjoy her. And then this evening my craft group is meeting, so it's been a week of crafty meetups. So I'm heading to my craft group. So they're the ladies that first taught me or got me back into knitting, or got me into knitting. That's probably better explanation. So I did dabble in it a little bit as a child. I do remember doing a little bit of knitting, which my mum may have taught me. I can't actually remember who taught me. I assume it was my mum. And I remember knitting in the back of the car on some drives or waiting for appointments with mum, but it was like the same red yarn and plastic needles, and I never really made anything with it because I didn't really have a lot of yarn, and obviously must have lost interest after a certain point, and never really made anything substantial. Don't know what happened to that yarn or those needles, but given that I took it up again almost 3 years ago now, I guess I feel like I was a brand new knitter because I couldn't remember anything. So these ladies from Craft Night pretty much got me into crafting, into knitting, and I really enjoy catching up with them every few weeks, and we have a lovely supper at the end, and it's just a lot of fun to catch up. But I'm going to finish off there now for real. I'll stop rambling at you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so fun to talk to you, and I look forward to doing this again in a couple of weeks. The crafting time is obviously a little bit limited for me, but I really love making things and really like talking about them. So thank you so much. Have a lovely few weeks. I hope you're having a nice day today as well. I hope it's not raining and windy where you are. But at the same time, it's lovely and cozy to be inside, isn't it? So enjoy yourselves. Happy knitting, happy crafting, and I'll see you soon.